so this is part 2. She's still sleeping. Yeah, Carson was born on December 14th, and Christmas Eve, we had gone to travel to see family about an hour and a half away, and my postpartum bleeding had somewhat stopped by this point. It was just kind of spotting. It wasn't really anything that, like, it wasn't bad bleeding at all. So we traveled an hour and a half away to go take Carson to meet the family. It was Christmas Eve, like I said, and we got back home about midnight, and I remember going to the bathroom and being like, God, darn it, you know, I've started bleeding a lot again. But it was my first baby. I hadn't had time to read any of the discharge papers. They didn't read them to me when I signed them. They just were like, here, take this home, sign this here. I was like, okay. When I got home, I started bleeding again. I was like, oh man, you know, oh well. Well, I go back to get in my bed, and I remember laying down and feeling another gush, and I was like, ugh, that sucks. I'll have to go change my pad again so I can, I'm tired. It's midnight. Carson's asleep by this point, so, you know, I'm just trying to hurry and get in bed because I know my baby's going to be waking up soon, and I'm tired. It's starting to catch up with me. It's day 10. So I go, change my pad again, and more clots. Clots are coming, and I'm like, oh, that sucks, you know. So, I can't believe I did this, but, I got a washcloth, and put it on, and I was like, and then I got one of those, pads that they put in your bed at the hospital, Chuck's pad, and I put it in my bed because I was like, I'm just tired, I just want to go to bed, I'm tired of getting up and changing my pad. These are all red flags that if you ever have this, go straight to the hospital. Do not brush it off. I don't care what time of night it is. So the next morning I wake up, and it's Christmas morning, and we're supposed to be going to my mom's house for Christmas, and I'm so excited because it's Carson's first Christmas, and we're taking pictures of him in the stocking, and, you know, and I'm so excited, and still bleeding. I woke up, I know this is TMI, but I woke up covered. It was everywhere, all over the Chuck's pad, all over my pajamas. And I'm like, God, it sucks. This, you know, I'm like, I know they say you bleed for 6 weeks afterwards, but this is horrible. I hate this, you know. And so finally I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I keep bleeding a lot. I can't get out of the bathroom. Like, every time I change my pad, I walk back out, I'm bend down or sit down. I'm like feeling gushes. It feels like my water's breaking over and over and over, that feeling of that gush. And she goes, Megan, you better call your doctor. What are you doing? And I was like, it's Christmas. I'm getting ready to come over to your house. I don't want to go to the hospital. And that was another reason that I agreed to the early induction and kind of wanted it, because I didn't want my baby born on Christmas, and I was like, what a horrible birthday, and oh, he'd be robbed of all this. It's so not what I should have been thinking about. But anyway, so I called, and the nurse called me back and goes, you need to get to the hospital right now, and if you don't have a ride, I'm calling an ambulance for you. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's serious? Like, what is going on? Like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm just bleeding. Like, it's okay. Well, so I was like, no, I have a ride. I've got a ride, and I will, I'll head up there. Well, my husband, we hurried up. I finished blow drying my hair because I had gotten out of the shower and I didn't want to go anywhere with wet hair. It was cold outside, and so I went, and my husband drove to the hospital. It's 20 minutes away, but we got there in like 14 minutes. It was nuts. He drove 100 miles an hour with his flashers on, and I'm like, slow down, our baby's in the car, you know, I'm freaking out. But there was nobody on the road because it's literally like Christmas, and nobody's awake. So it's like 9 a.m. I get to the hospital, and they check my blood pressure, and it's fine. It's 120/80, and the nurse, I didn't take Carson back to the triage part with me. He was out in the waiting room with my husband, and my mom met us at the hospital, and so she went back there with me, and the nurse was like, when was your last period? And I was like, March 14th, 06, and she looks at me and goes, are you pregnant? I said, I just had a baby. She goes, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, God. So I was just shocked at her question, but, so I told her what was going on. I have like a hand towel in between my legs underneath my sweats because I'm bleeding so much. And she takes me back to a room immediately. The doctor comes in there. And this gives me chills. He makes everyone leave because even my husband and my mother and my son, they had to leave. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional about this. He's checking me. He's doing a vaginal exam, and he's like, oh, you're bleeding really bad. He's got his hand in me, like pulling out clots, trying to stop the bleeding. And then he takes like these giant Q-tips and is trying to like sweep trying to just clean out. And so when that doesn't work, my doctor thankfully was on call, and she comes down and she's like, oh yeah, you're bleeding really bad. So she tries to get with her hand in there, and I'm screaming bloody murder. I mean, I'm screaming. I'm in so much pain I can't even think. And so my mom and husband, I found out later, are out there in the waiting room, they're just beside themselves because they can't get in there to me, and they hear me screaming. And so my nurse comes in, and by this time my blood pressure had dropped to 77/40. I'm like getting ready to pass out, and my doctor's like, we've got to take you in right now. You need a hysterectomy. I don't think a DNC will stop this. You need a hysterectomy. And I'm freaking out. And I'm only 21 at the time. And, my husband comes in there and kisses me and says, it's going to be okay, baby. We've got our beautiful son. Whatever they have to do to save your life. So I signed the papers for the hysterectomy, knowing that they're going to try a DNC, but she's like, I don't think it's going to work. You're bleeding so much. So I did that, and I remember my mom fumbling with the car seat trying to get Carson out for me to give him a kiss before I left. And anyway, I get wheeled back to surgery, and I remember waking up and being covered in towels. I'd lost so much blood that it almost took my life. And the first thing I asked was, can I have any more kids? And the nurse was like, yes, baby, you can. It was so sweet. She was talking so sweet to me. She was like, yes, you can. We were able to save your uterus. We were able to save you after much effort. I'm so thankful that the doctor did not give up on me easily. I might have to make this a part 3 of some of mom and sister pull up, but anyways, I'll talk fast. They were able to save me. They had to transfer 3 pints of blood back in the surgery room, and then I was hooked up. They had a balloon in my uterus. Had to be in the hospital another 3 days. I couldn't move for the first 48 hours. She wouldn't let me out of bed for fear I would start bleeding again. What had happened, it was called a secondary postpartum hemorrhage. Hang on just a second.